Hello everyone, welcome to STV Theater. Today we are going to be discussing one of my most favorite movies, Predator. I have along with me Eric. Eric, go ahead and say hello.
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 So we are discussing the movie Predator. You had not seen it all the way through, is that correct?
I had never seen it at all. I've only known about it through the context of like public, like general information.
So just overall, real quick, like just general thoughts. Good, bad?
I thought it was good. Having seen it now, knowing about it and seeing so many things that have been very heavily inspired by it, it was a little I don't know exactly how I put it, but it's seen for me in a very different light because I see a lot of these same kind of tropes, but like where their roots are there. You know what I mean? And like the
Mm-hmm.
extravagant like fight scenes and stuff. Like Avengers does that shit, but it's different.
Right.
So
Very different.
yeah,
Very different movie from any modern action movie for sure. And so this really harkens back, like, yeah, to just that the appeal to me especially of like 80s action and even early 90s action where it was just like really over the top, but like it wasn't like it's hard to explain because it's a really good point you make there of like modern action with like Avengers movies and stuff where it's like this is a different kind of fantastical.
hmm
Like it's, I guess in a way you could almost say it's grounded in reality, like so the way I put it before, like it's like the way a child would play in their backyard, like it's grounded in that kind of reality where it's just like everything's just enough over the top to where it's like 100% not believable but still based, it has like realism to it.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I don't know how best to
It's
describe
the
it.
epitome of like sci-fi. You know,
Yeah, pretty much. Well, and
it's
it really, so all right, so let's get into that. Like, so first off, movie starts off with great old logos,
yeah.
old fashioned 20th Century Fox. Gotta love that. Like, I love the look of 20th Century Fox's old logo.
Mm.
It really brings me into my childhood. Like that logo is ridiculous.
It's a
That
classic.
logo right there, ridiculous. Classic though for sure. Um, so it starts off 20th Century Fox. The story so far, so Dutch, who's played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, and his ragtag team of ne'er-do-wells are called in as a rescue team, which is what they are. They're not assassins. They're a rescue team.
We're a rescue team, not assassins.
So they get called in to rescue another, like a cabinet member who like went down over the border of such and such. I'll put the whatever country, if it's mentioned in the movie, I'll put it in here.
18 hours ago, we lost a chopper carrying a cabinet minister and his aide from this charming little country. We've got a transponder fix on their position. About here.
But like they get called in to rescue this cabinet minister and his aides, which makes no flippin' sense. Like the whole story itself, you find out later, is a sham. Like it was all just like a front to get them into like this camp to get like intel, I guess. Because that's the
On
thing. Like
what
so the
though?
I don't know. Like so like they mentioned like Russians being like in cahoots with like whoever those like guerrillas were,
They
and they
spoke
were gonna be
Spanish, and
they're
it
gonna be
was a
going
jungle.
across the border somewhere to like the
What
next
border?
day. I know, right? Like exactly. So it's really vague. But that's the thing, right? Like the whole setup of the movie, it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Like the whole premise is just to get them in the jungle to fight this alien predator. And so that's what I find so funny is like they put so much like there's not a whole lot of weight to like the storytelling of what the premise is, but
Yeah.
it's just enough to be like, oh, there's like a conflict between all these people, and like, oh, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's character's not happy about it. Like, ooh, I wonder what's gonna happen. Oh, it doesn't matter. Everyone's gonna die. Like that's the thing. It's like the whole premise of the movie doesn't matter. Like it's the whole point. And so that's that again brings me back to like it's like a child playing in his backyard. It's like the whole idea is just to get you to fight an alien. Like that's
I mean,
it.
like that's.
But overall,
Connecting it back to like how even modern, like it's just the way all action movies are. It really set the precedent for it. You know,
right?
like this kind of thing is what all like big extravagant action movies are the epitome of. They all emulate something that's in Predator or Rambo or whatever, like in some capacity, if not like directly referencing it.
Well, it's like so you get the classic team that always works alone. The whole team breakdown is like so the team is like the two butt buddies. You have the Native American tracker guy who's completely wasted, but we'll get back to that. You have the comedian guy who just like is there like cracking jokes and he's like real wormy and spindly and stuff.
My girlfriend's got a big pussy.
Exactly. And then you've got the average guy who's just like he's the guy who's like you got time to bleed or you got time to duck or whatever, like that guy. Like he's just like an average dude. And then you have the leader in Dutch who's just like, you know, the guy who can pretty much do everything. And speaking of, so like they track down the cabinet minister's like helicopter that went down, and they end up finding the bodies like all strung up and like just like hung out to dry, like literally. And then after that, they track them to that guerrilla camp, and they find like hostages there being murdered. So then their plan is to so he sees a hostage get murdered, and he's like, all right, we got to move in. So they go to move in. He sets everyone up in their positions. He's like, I'll hit the depot or whatever. He goes down. I don't think he had a plan initially because he goes down in there and then he sees the truck doing its thing. And then, so once he sees the truck, like, hell of an improvisation. Like, I'm not denying him that. But it only could be done by him. Like, only he could pull off that improv move of, like, I'm just going to lift a whole truck and let it roll down a hill. Like, no one else, if he would have had, like, Mac go down into and take the depot out or something, like, he wouldn't have done it that way. So, really fun, fun little improvisation there. They attack the guerrilla camp. That's when we find out that the plan was not the plan at all, and, like, everything goes awry. And we meet Anna, who, why did they keep her? Like, do you have an understanding of that?
No, that was the thing I was wondering, like, all the way up until the very end when she's in the chopper, all like
she's in the chopper.
I'm like, what? Why is she here still?
Yeah.
Like, she had been trying to escape. Like, what is she gaining from staying with them now? Like,
well, at one point,
have somewhere to go?
At one point, Dylan's like, we can't let her go. She knows their whole network. It's like, well, then just kill her. You killed everyone else there.
Why are you holding on to her just because she's got a vagina? Like, what the hell?
Right. Do they need her information on their network?
Because she was saying that the jungle became alive and then just started saying stuff in English. It's like, well, right. What the hell, man?
Yeah, speaking of, so then they bring her with them. And in the midst of all that, like almost immediately after, so we do get our first few introductions into like this entity that's like following them around. And again, so I will say, like, from an effects standpoint, from honestly just a film standpoint, like the movie, honestly, in my opinion, for one, I think it still holds up pretty well. I think the effects, like, there's a few effects in this movie that were made, like, that were invented or created specifically for this movie. So, like, the optic camouflage look. And then even, like, doing the thermal filter on the lens and stuff, that was all, like, kind of new. So that was, like, a brand new thing for this movie. And I know that they probably wanted to do, like, different things and better things, but that was, like, obviously the best they could get. But I think it works. What's great about this movie and what I think they did really well was, again, the setup was, like, this normal, like, action military move, and you're like, okay. And then you get your first glimpses of, like, something watching them. And watching them through that like thermal filter, and you're like, "What the hell's going on?" And I even remember watching this as a kid, and just kind of being like bored. But that's because I didn't fully understand what was going on. But like watching it as an adult, it's like it's such a slow burn and a good build up to like this reveal. And then like The big reveal is after they take out the gorilla camp. Then you see that thing come down, and it starts like picking up their audio and like kind of mimicking them and trying to like figure out what they're all doing. And he grabs that little scorpion, like holds it in his hand. But the big reveal is his hand coming out, and you notice there's like a music beat when his hand comes out. It's like boom, like suddenly there's like this creature there, and you're like, what the hell? And so it grabs that, and like that's the first reveal that this is not. The movie's not what we think it is. But then so then they go into the jungle, and I'm not sure. Again, so the placement of the creature is weird because like a skunk comes out. Okay, so this is a jungle with skunks too, by the way, which I thought was strange. But a skunk comes out, and then so it blows the skunk up, and then it blows the guy up.
Priorities.
Do I have that right?
We could have to maybe double check, but that's.
I mean,
right.
He gets like splattered, right? Like
yeah, there's gunfire and shit everywhere. If you expect me to remember every single gunshot, you're out of your fucking mind.
Right. Well, but then so that leads into the probably longest continuous firing scene in the movie.
Oh my god, that was how many seconds? That is exactly a minute.
Exactly.
Like
a minute and 2 seconds of nothing but solid fire and Max screaming.
Yeah.
And they hit nothing. Well, to be fair, they did hit it because it gets wounded.
Yeah, but nothing died.
But again, so what's cool about that is like, so they hit it and they reveal another like interesting little tidbit of this creature is like, oh, so its blood is like fluorescent green. And like glows or whatever, so it's very different all around. So really good like character creation in my opinion. Kind of always leaving you guessing. Like whenever you see something revealed from this creature, it's always like oh okay, that's interesting, that's cool, whatever. So this all leads to again the butt buddy thing, like this guy and his relationship with Jesse the Body Ventura. Which by the way, we have two former governors in this movie. Jesse Ventura was the governor of Minnesota. Right. And then Arnold Schwarzenegger, former governor of California. So this movie is chock full of two governors.
What the hell, dude?
That's crazy.
What is up with America?
What are the odds of that?
Like, action stars as politicians.
Right, what are the odds of that? I mean, if I was a betting man back in '87, I would not have put money on two of the actors in this movie becoming governors in these United States. Like, it's not something I would have thought of. All of that aside, so we find out a little bit more, the don't ask, don't tell stuff between Mac and Blaine, who is Jesse Ventura's character.
Right.
He'll come back again when he doesn't want to cut your name right into.
And then the Predator comes and takes Jesse Ventura's body. Mac kills a pig and carves Jesse Ventura's name into it. From there, it just gets more and more chaotic. Like, the woman tries to reveal that, like, the jungle came alive and killed him, and killed that one guy, but it doesn't really... No one really understands what she's saying, and that's not what she's saying. And then all of a sudden, when they start laying traps for this thing, suddenly she just speaks English. And she just starts, like, spewing her whole guts out.
I don't know what it was.
Go on.
It changed colors. Like the chameleon. It uses the jungle.
You saying that Blaine and Hawkins were killed by a fucking lizard? It's a bullshit psych job. There's 2 or 3 men out there at the most. Fucking lizard.
What's your name?
Anna.
Talking about her childhood and whatever else, and the old ladies in her village and whatever else, like. But honestly, this all just leads up to like just everyone dropping one by one, which Billy, the Native American character, points out. He's like, we're all going to die here. And what's funny is, again, he's a great, interesting character. He's the only one that suspects anything's going on around them. He's the only one that can track anything. All these guys are commandos and stuff, and none of them have any basic skills of, like, anything. He's the only, like, they rely on him. He's like, he goes to Billy, get me out of this hole. Like, he asks him to find a way out of the cab, or out of the jungle. They have Billy track, where all the guys went to. He's asking Billy what he sees in the trees. Billy's the only guy that cuts a vine and is able to drink water from it. Like, this is the only guy that has any actual, like, survival skill. And then he goes out like a bitch. Like, out of all of them, he just, like, you don't even see him fight it. He just dies on a log in the middle of a bridge or something.
Right
Like, I don't even know.
Screams. That's it.
Right.
Right into it and screams.
So that all leads up to the best part of the movie is like the last 30 minutes or so, where Dutch has his showdown with the Predator. We get an awesome creature reveal. I had mentioned a couple things, but they did some really cool stuff with the film work where they slowed a lot of the shots down with Predator to really like demonstrate him having like more weight and just like being larger than life kind of creature. And even especially compared to someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger, they did a really good job of making him seem like really imposing. And just great costume work. Like, the effects on that creature are phenomenal, dude. For like 86 when this movie was made, like, that's amazing. Like, it's amazing what... Well, it's amazing.
Great. Like,
honestly, yeah.
Bar none. Like, the 80s were such an incredible time for, like, effects in, like, all regards. Like, musical effects, like,
right.
Like with the thermal vision and stuff. Like, the whip snaps and the, like, wobbly bass and all that. Like,
well, and the creative effects. Just the absolute creativity behind it. I think it definitely is showcased really well in this. And it's done very subtly, too.
Did this win any awards?
It's not in your face. It's not over the top. Clearly, the budget for this movie was not huge.
Yeah.
But it honestly all pays off really well.
I like.
What kind of notes did you take on this one?
Well, a lot. Well, not a lot, and not all like the most serious.
Lay it on me. What do you got?
They look like schizophrenic scratching, but I'll start with it. Looks like Duke Nukem, but that's a retrospective from somebody younger like me. I really enjoyed like the very first scene, the fertilization scene, shooting the Predator onto the planet from the space.
Yeah.
Penis. I thought that was really cool.
I wrote shit poops out smaller ship.
I don't remember if it said exactly where in the world they were, but I just put nondescript quote jungle setting. I wonder why like that's not like as popular of a concept anymore. Like the last jungle movie I can think of like made modern would be, I guess, Jumanji with like Jack Black and The Rock and
yeah, like for like nondescript location.
Yeah, like jungle.
Right.
Like, period.
Right.
I definitely can see this pose as a post-Vietnam like propaganda, like reinforcing the idea that we actually won. We didn't lose. We don't lose wars. We're America. We don't lose wars.
We just learn things from the Boy Scouts.
Yeah, we just look at this cool trap that I know how to make. Look at this hole I dug and covered with sticks, and this log I hung from the trees.
Kill me, I'm here.
Kill me, I'm here.
Do it.
I mentioned how like impeccable I thought the visual effects were, and I'm not somebody that typically can pay that close of attention to that, and so I thought the execution of that was fantastic. We talked about the Arnold doing the Arnold thing with the muscles in the truck.
Right. Everyone gets a chance to show their muscles in this, which is really fun.
That was just so. Well, you're right. So quintessentially, like nobody else was gonna go down there and do that like him, and it was just the perfect form and everything. Just like lift the truck, move the truck.
Right.
This was definitely the invention of the bottomless magazine in a lot of sense. Endless.
We'll have to watch Commando and we'll compare.
Yeah.
Commando is definitely, if you want to talk about invention of bottomless magazine. Yeah.
And then I mentioned how I thought Jesse Ventura's character, I thought he was dumb as hell, dude.
Right.
Like, good, well done, but he's a fucking idiot. And like,
yeah.
Who doesn't have time to bleed?
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Right.
What, dude? Like I've never that's the only time I could have related to anything in this movie at all. Is if somebody said that to me, I would have reacted like the normal guy and been like, okay,
That's nice.
all right. Fucking weird.
Well, I like, the point you made earlier too is like this is very Michael Bay before Michael Bay,
Yeah.
but almost like done well. The action is decent in this
Yeah,
movie.
no,
It's
I
not
think
like,
it's great.
The only thing I think that's kind of weak, which is really sad, is the climax. Like, I think everything building up to it, like when he explodes him and like does all these things, but the fight itself was kind of poorly shot because it's like at least 70% from the Predator's perspective, and it's like just this red haze over the screen. And I get it, maybe that was like a budgetary thing, and because of the costume and because of maybe there's some restrictions and constraints there, like they had some issue, but like it just didn't feel like as impactful. There was a couple of good hits that you see the Predator give him, and like you said, like treating him like a rag doll, or a Beanie Baby. That's what it was. Treating him like a Beanie Baby. But like that's the thing, is like there's a couple of solid hits that they show, but I feel like that could have been expanded upon. And there's another Predator movie that they did a little better with that, because it was made like in the later 2000s, like 2010 era or 20 teens, and they were, obviously better effects, bigger budget, so they were able to really get some more mobility out of these creatures and stuff. So they were able to kind of capitalize better on a good choreographed fight scene. But for what it was, I think it was just really more about just these two large, beings fighting each other. I wrote a couple of important things that poor Dylan still thought the plan was on even after Mac was dead, and I think that's really sad because he just started like wandering around a little aimlessly there. Also, this movie's pretty close to an Arnold blackface. Like, I don't know if you noticed a couple of scenes there where he's got the mud all over his face and stuff, but like, it was pretty close.
Little Tropic Thunder vibes.
Yeah, little Tropic Thunder, little dude playing a dude disguised as another dude.
I definitely thought, for a movie of this caliber and hypermasculinity, and stuff, I would have figured a hostage girl would have had less clothing.
Right.
For sure, maybe the Princess Leia, Padme torn top thing from the second Star Wars or whatever. Okay, an hour in to this movie is when they figure out that the fucking thing is in the trees. when Native American guys been fucking looking up into the trees for the past
He's been looking
hour.
at the trees all he literally said there's something in those trees, and then like an hour in he's using the trees, yeah, Billy should have walked up and slapped him in the face and was like, I told you.
God damn it.
Absolutely terrible.
Bleeding.
But overall, I think, pretty good movie.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would watch.
It's a lot of fun,
It
right?
was a lot of fun and not in a rewatchable way. I feel.
Yeah, totally.
I'm not a big action movie guy. Quite the opposite actually. I don't typically enjoy action movies, but I enjoyed this. I would sit and watch this again. It's definitely got the classic vibe.
Right.
I think it has that because, well, in and of itself, it is because.
I think it definitely has that mantle now.
Yeah, it's like we said, it's kind of where the tropes kind of started, and that's why
Mhm.
movies after it feel yeah, I've seen it before. You don't want to
Right.
see it again, but this, it's the first you saw it. You're watching it again.
It's hard to watch movies like this though, knowing how many times tropes like this have been duplicated,
Yeah.
and then going back and be like, oh, this is just like whatever movie, but then having that thought process of well, no, it kind of started here though, and really trying to give it its due. You know what I mean? I think that's the harder part with it, is giving it its credit where it deserves it, because it's yeah, but it honestly, again, for what the budget was, for how it stood out on its own, and as a matter of fact, Wow, the budget for the original Predator, 15 to 18 million.
I mean, it did have Ventura and Schwarzenegger.
I mean, that's true, but he still wasn't huge at the time. But here's the thing. Box office made 160 million.
I mean, that's like...
Yeah, 1987, 15 million.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It made 100 mil box office? Bad.
Oh, so the box office made 98.3 million.
Okay, that's still pretty solid.
Oh, that's huge, dude. That's a huge return on investment.
Yeah.
Especially for this kind of movie.
And in that time period?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that's crazy.
I really enjoyed it, and that's coming from somebody who doesn't really like action movies. Like, I don't watch any of the Avengers or anything, but,
So the idea is that a joke circulated after Rocky IV, a joke circulated in Hollywood that since Rocky Balboa had run out of earthly opponents, he would have to fight an alien if a fifth film were to be made. Screenwriters Jim and John Thomas took the inspiration from the joke and wrote a screenplay based on it. The Thomas script for Predator was originally titled Hunter. The original concept centered on a plot of what it is to be hunted, concerned a band of alien hunters of various species seeking various targets. That concept was eventually streamlined to one extraterrestrial hunting the most dangerous species, humans, and the most dangerous man, a combat soldier. Additionally, the setting was chosen as Central America for having constant special forces operations during that period. So that's the consensus. It's a Central American jungle.
So I'm right.
Yeah,
Quote,
it's nondescript.
jungle.
Yeah, nondescript quote jungle.
Put them in the jungle. Wow.
That's very interesting.
Hey man,
But-
that's all you need. Big muscle men that are all oily and smooth looking, with big guns, and one cute girl. Only one.
Right.
That's all you get, and she's fully clothed the entire time, and sometimes covered in blood. And she doesn't speak English until an hour into the movie.
So overall, I definitely recommend this movie. I mean, obviously, I recommended it to you.
Yeah.
I think that we can continue this. We can continue the Schwarzenegger dive and look into more of his works for future STV theaters.
Yeah.
I think that would be a lot of fun because he's got a lot of movies that are of this caliber. I mean, honestly, that's why he is who he is today. It's like everyone knows him from like Terminator and stuff.
Yeah.
But fun fact too, there's a conspiracy theory that the Terminator, the T-1000 or T-800, that is what Arnold Schwarzenegger played.
Right.
There's a theory that the T-800 was based off of Dutch from this movie because he fought and killed an alien. Whoever created the T-800 decided to model it after this character. And that's why it looked... So basically they're trying to say that Predator and Terminator are within the same universe.
Yeah, I don't know about that
figure.
one, Chief.
I mean, I'm just saying, it's a theory that's out there.
It sure is.
So, at scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
I would give this a solid 7.
That's 7.5 to 8 for me. I definitely agree. Definitely solid higher number for sure. It's not an average movie. It's well above average. But yeah, overall, definitely solid 7.5, I think. Well, I think that would wrap it up. Do you have any final thoughts at all on the movie, or just anything in general?
Let me double check my notes here. No, I think I'm good.
I did write jungle music symbolizes the predator. I also made sure to write down that Dylan is lying, and I wrote down that Mac doesn't mince words.
You're ghosting us, motherfucker. I don't care who you are back in the world. You give up position one more time, I'll bleed you. Real quiet. Leave you here. Got that?
I also had, in all caps, that she could speak English the whole time. What the fuck? I don't remember when, This came up or why, but bleeding and dying are not mutually exclusive.
True. If it bleeds, we can kill it.
I don't think we talked about this. I think I just wrote it, but this is how I wrote it. And this was before I remembered that the Sergeant's name was Mac. So Sergeant Mac is smooth. Too smooth. Not cool smooth, like physically smooth. The man is a walking Dove commercial.
Oh yes, and everyone's covered in baby oil the whole time.
He's so glistening, and he's constantly shaving. Like,
this is why he's smooth.
Why he's too smooth, dude. And he's also got infinite hats. Like, he's got so many hats. Like, literally too many hats. And then
it could be the same hat. We just never see him pick it back up again.
It just respawns on his head.
It's like how the guns never run out of ammo.
And then my only other two notes were that the Predator has sleep apnea and likes whippets.
Oh, he's vaping. And likes whippets.
Yeah. That's what I got.
True.
But yeah, totally enjoyed it. Would watch it again. Can't wait to see like how the saga or franchise continues, because I know it's gone for what some.
Oh, I think we'll.
Long, but I don't know. We'll see.
I think we'll definitely jump into some more Predators in the future, because I've got a couple still that I think you'd enjoy.
Wonderful.
But overall, yeah, I think we'll definitely keep going with this series. It's a lot of fun watching movies.
I agree.
Alright, well that concludes this today. That concludes this episode of STV Theater, reviewing the movie Predator with my good friend Eric. We will be jumping into other films in the future. Hope everyone enjoyed it. Give it a like if you liked it. Leave a comment if you have something to say. And be sure to subscribe so you can catch the next episode. Other than that, we'll catch you on the flippity. Say goodbye, Eric.
Bye.